Welcome to this DaVinci Resolve Fusion node breakdown. Today's node is part 4 and the last part of our camera tracker node. So we're going to jump into Fusion where we've got all of our tracks that we did the last few days and our little 3D nodes that we did the other day or yesterday. And today we want to export all of this to use in different software. So I'm going to be using Blender since Blender is free, so you guys can follow along if you want. But it's basically the same process no matter what 3D program you use. So the important thing to know is what Fusion is going to export. So Fusion is going to export our camera, our animated camera. And let me go ahead and go to perspective. So our camera here is going to export that. It's going to export our two little shapes that we have on here, and it's going to export our ground plane. Additionally, it will export the our backdrop where we have our footage. But one thing it will not export, just by default, is our point cloud. And this point cloud is pretty important when it comes to building stuff within the 3D world. So not having our point cloud, we pretty much can't see what's going on. You'd have to build tons of stuff within Fusion just to see, like say where each step is here and where our side walls are here. We would have to build all that so we could see it and export all those shapes. But there is a workaround so we can go ahead and export these point clouds as geometry. So in order to do that, we're going to first drop a 3D shape. And then we're going to search for a 3D replicate. So replicate 3D, we're going to add one of those. And what we're going to do is we're going to go from our shape to our green input on our replicate 3D. And under our shape, let's go ahead and, well, first before we do this, let's go to our point cloud. And our point cloud has these little pluses, which are kind of annoying. So we're going to change these to points. And we can change our size if we want, so they're smaller. And we're going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to change these to like 2. And this doesn't matter when it comes to exporting. I just want them kind of out of the way so I can see what's going on. So within our shape node, we can go up to our shape and you can click cube, you can do sphere, you can do whatever shape you want, but I'm going to go ahead and export spheres. And I'm going to take my point cloud and input it into my replicate. And then from my replicate, I'm going to go out and bring it into my merge. So what this replicate is doing is it's putting a sphere everywhere one of those points are within our point cloud. So under our shape, we can go here and change the radius of our shape to a more manageable size. So I'm going to go ahead and leave these at say 0.05, but it's up to you depending on how big or small you want them. So those are our shapes for our points. So in order to export this out, what we're going to need is we're going to need a FBX exporter. And what we want to do is select where we want to save this. And up here, once you select where you want to save your FBX file, you can select your format. And there's multiple formats in here, not as many as you really need. It's missing some pretty important formats as far as 3D goes, but we've got some pretty good ones. But I'm just going to leave this on FBX binary, the default setting, and I'm going to leave the version on the default setting. And this will use the latest version by default. You just want to make sure your frame rate is correct and scale units by, I'm going to bring this down. And just because Blender is kind of odd when it comes to scale. So I'm going to say 0.1 on our actual FBX exporter. And I want my geometry. I don't need lights. I want my camera. I'm going to select render range. So I'm It's telling it what render range, and I'm just going to leave this reduce constant keys, because basically what it's doing is any keyframes that are in there that are super close, it's going to just delete those and reduce them down. And this files per frame means if you check it, it's going to create one FBX file per frame. So I wouldn't do that if I was you. So I'm going to leave this unchecked. Now, before we export out, I'm going to bring in a 3D transform. And remember, this isn't a regular transform node, it's a transform 3D node. And I'm going to input that into my FBX exporter. And on my scale, I'm going to make this 100. And that's just scaling our FBX all the way up. Now, to get the information in here, I'm going to go from my 3D merge out into my transform. Now, this used to be ready to go and you could render by going up to Fusion and, well, look at there, it's working now. And do I have a saver node? I do not. Sometimes if you go up to Fusion, oh, look, it just disappeared. So that was my point. Right here, this should be white and I should be able to render all savers. Sometimes there's a glitch, so to fix that, all you have to do is just add a saver node, and you don't have to input anything, you just randomly have it on there disconnected. And now when we go to our Fusion, we can render all savers. There, and that just rendered our FBX file. So we're going to go ahead and open Blender. And open a new file, and we're going to delete everything within Blender. Now we can go up to Import, FBX. You can find your little FBX file you exported, and there we go. So now we have our scene imported into Blender, and these are all of our little point clouds and our ground plane, our two little shapes, our camera, and our little backdrop. Now this backdrop we're not going to use, but before we get there, let's go ahead and clean this up. So I'm going to make a new folder and put all these little point clouds into a single folder. That way it's not so messy right here. Go ahead and name this point cloud. And I can tell all my point cloud stuff is this shape 3D2. So I'm going to select all of those. All of those. And then I'm going to move them into my point cloud folder, so it's a little cleaner. And that way we can turn them on and shut them off if we need to all at once. Now, this backdrop right here, I'm going to go ahead and hide and uncheck my render. And same with my point clouds, I'm going to go ahead and uncheck my render on my point cloud. So if I hold shift, it'll uncheck all of them so those don't render. And the first thing we want to do is make sure our camera's straight. Now, when you come in here, if your camera is backwards, it's facing the other way for some reason, which it could possibly do. It does sometimes. If you go to your camera and go down to your delta transform, if you make your X -1 and make your Z -1, it'll flip that camera correctly. But our camera is oriented correctly, so there's no problem. Now you can see our camera is moving, and we can go ahead and make this 120 frames. Now I do realize within Fusion, Fusion is actually starting at 0. So if you want to move all your animation to start at 0 and end at 119 like it is in Fusion, because if we go back to Fusion, you can see we're going from 0 to 119. You can do that. It's not going to change the fact that this is the first frame no matter how you input it. So that really doesn't matter. But I'm going to go set up my cycles, my GPU. And the first thing I want to do is make sure my camera is straight. And let's go ahead and get another window. And I'm going to make this my camera view. So if you notice, we're not seeing anything. And to be able to fix that, we want to go to our camera settings, and under this clip end, I'm just going to make this 10,000. So now we can see everything. Additionally, the one thing we want to change is our focal length, because Blender will kind of import its own focal lengths that it thinks it is. But if we go to our Fusion and look at our camera tracker and go to our solve, it told us what the focal length is that it used. So 16.44. So we can just go back to Blender, change our focal length to 16.44. Now our focal length is matching our camera in Fusion. So next thing we want to do is go ahead and get our background input so we can see kind of what's going on. So if you haven't done so in Fusion, you can just reconnect your lens distort to your media out, because remember this was our media, but we added lens distortion to it. So go from your lens distort to your media out. And if you go to your edit timeline, you can just deliver this and edit that specific timeline as your footage. Just make sure you have that lens distort on there that you added, if you did. So back to Blender. So if we go in our camera, we can go down to background images, turn on background images, add it. We want a movie clip, and I'm going to search for that movie clip I exported, which is right there. So now we have our footage in the background, so we can kind of see what's going on. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide our point cloud. I don't want to see that. And we can come in here and we can change, we can add material, do whatever we want. So I'm going to go ahead and let's say we're going to add some stuff. So let's go ahead and add a cylinder. Let's bring this over here. And I'm just going to build something real quick. Maybe not that big. Lift it up so it's on our ground plane. And I'm going to shade smooth. And let's go ahead and click our little render button. And the first thing we need to do is change our background in our scene here. So if we go to our scene and go to film, and select this transparent, now we'll be able to see our footage. And before I start shading the stuff, I'm going to add a light. So let's add a little point light. Bring that up. Maybe not that close. Set up our wattage a little bit. And since we have like a lot of light coming from this background, I'm going to go ahead and add another point light. And I'm going to bring this way in the back. A bit. There we go. So now we got a light. And let's go ahead and throw some material on. Let's make this a blue. There we go. I'm not going to make it shiny because we're not going to reflect our girl over there. I'm just doing this real quick. And we're going to make another one. Bring it over here. And let's go ahead and hide our ground plane. And let's hide our two shapes. So now we've got two shapes kind of animating with our little footage there. And say we needed to add more stuff, we can just turn our point cloud back on so we can kind of see what's going on. And if, say, we wanted to add some more cylinders down here on our bottom step, we can copy our cylinder, bring it down so it's sitting on our bottom step there. Let's hide these. So there we go. So that is basically how you would import something into Blender. So I personally, what I would do is I would export all of these as an animation, export the EXRs, and then bring them back into Fusion. That way I could composite and do anything I need to do on 3D within Fusion. So, and actually, let's go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to do it real quick. So let me set up our render settings, output. Let's go to our V drive, our tutorial, render, camera track, render, and I'm going to export these as EXR, and I'll just leave all those as the standard settings. And the one thing is we have to make sure we have the same resolution. So that would be 3840 by 2160. By 2160. And start frame 1 and 120. And max samples, let's go ahead and denoise. Denoise on a render, max samples on a render. Let's knock this down to like 256 so it's fast. And I'm going to go to render animation, and I'm going to let this render real fast. All right, now that our render is done, we're going to jump back into Fusion. And let's go ahead and come down here. So we're going to disconnect our tracker. And we're going to disconnect our camera 3D. And we're just going to look at our media here. So let's bring in a loader node. And let's look for our render. So now we've got our render. And first thing I'm going to do is drop a gamut. And switch this to sRGB. We're going to bring in a merge. Bring this over. So now we've got our 3D rendered image from Blender on top of our footage. And you can come in here and do whatever you want to it. We can. And obviously, if we were really doing this, we'd have our shadows on separate layers. We'd have our lighting on different layers. So we would add all those within here. And you'd be able to composite them all in so it actually look like those were sitting in our scene, because they look like they're just sitting there. But after all this, you would take your lens distort node that we did and put it over here. And instead of distort, we'd hit undistort. So now it brings us back to our original footage with that distortion in it. And you can see it takes a little longer to play. But there we go. So that is using our camera tracker to track our footage, lens distort to undistort it before we track, loading it into 3D, exporting out to Blender, or loading stuff within Fusion, creating stuff within Fusion. But we will shortly start getting into the actual 3D node so we can start doing some much better stuff and really get in the weeds with 3D and Fusion. So I will see you in the next node breakdown.